Hi, I'm the woman whose name used to be on the family yacht. Until my husband erased it. He said I'd ruin the mood, so I stayed home, thinking maybe I was the problem. But when the yacht came back, without my seat, without my name, and without my silence, I stopped being polite. They think I'm too old to fight back? Let's see how they handle what I found buried in their own paperwork. It started like any other Friday. I was folding towels, thinking about whether I'd need a sweater on the yacht next week. The Florida coast could surprise you sometimes, sunshine one minute, sea breeze chills the next. I had a pot of chicken simmering, and I was mentally checking off my packing list: motion sickness wristbands for Aunt Lynn, extra sunscreen for the kids, my favorite pair of sandals. The email arrived at 3:17 p.m. No subject line, just one sentence. You won't be joining the family yacht trip this year. Arthur. I stared at it, blinking like I'd read it wrong. But the words didn't change. You won't be joining. I reread it 4 times. 5. Then I saw the CC list. Everyone. Every name in our family thread. Not even a private message. No explanation. Just a statement. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I folded the last towel. Smoothed its edge. Stacked it neatly. The chicken started to burn. I turned off the stove, dumped it in the trash. I replied with just one word: fine. But fine never really means fine, does it? That night, I made dinner like always. Baked salmon, rice pilaf, steamed asparagus, Arthur's favorite. He walked through the door at 6:15, whistling, set his keys down in the bowl by the door like nothing had happened. He kissed my cheek. I didn't move. He didn't notice. We sat at the table like every other night. He talked about the stock market. The engine tune-up for the yacht. Timing's good. Trips in a week, he said casually, pouring himself wine. I looked at him. Why did you send that email? He raised a brow, sipped his drink. I thought it'd be easier this way. Easier for who? He shrugged. You wouldn't enjoy it. The trip's mostly for the kids anyway. That was the entire explanation. Like someone canceling a dinner reservation. I chewed in silence, tasting nothing. No one had texted me. Not his sister, not his nephew, not even Anna, my niece who used to beg me to braid her hair. I washed the dishes. He turned on the news. I stood at the sink, hands in soapy water, thinking, this isn't silence. This is something colder. I thought the worst part was being excluded. But it wasn't. It was realizing no one missed me. It didn't happen all at once. These things never do. I remember the first time I noticed. Thanksgiving, years ago. I suggested roasted carrots with balsamic. Arthur laughed, said, let's not get too fancy. Everyone nodded. I brought a salad instead. At the lake house dinner, I started telling a story. Arthur interrupted, made a joke, they laughed. I never finished. Family photos where I was cropped out, the light hit weird, they said. I started wearing beige, smiled in the background, held the camera instead of being in front of it. Less noticeable, less complicated. One summer, Arthur told his brother I had bad seasickness, said I'd stay back that weekend. I overheard it. He never asked. I didn't confront him. I didn't go. I thought silence kept the peace. But now, standing in my kitchen with that email hanging in the air, I realized, it didn't keep the peace. It erased me. This time, I wouldn't be silent. Not because I wanted back in, but because I finally wanted out. I didn't slam any doors. Didn't raise my voice. Instead, I opened a folder on my desktop labeled, Vacation, 14. The first yacht trip. Back when I had a say in things. My idea, my planning. Before it became Arthur's kingdom. I found the photos. I wasn't in most of them. I remembered taking them. I opened my email. Searched, Arthur. Hundreds of messages. Financial updates. Itineraries. The one about my seasickness. There it was, forwarded to his brother. She gets queasy, better if she stays behind. I screenshotted it, saved it. I didn't know what I was collecting yet. Evidence? Leverage? A reminder to myself that I wasn't crazy? Maybe all of it. Arthur had always said he managed the money. That the yacht was in his name. That the kids would inherit everything, clean and simple. Clean. That was the word he used when he erased me. I started noticing other things. Password changes. Bank notices. A conversation I overheard about a trust account. My name wasn't mentioned. It wasn't just exclusion. It was something else. I didn't know what I'd find. But I wasn't going to ask permission anymore. I printed the email, put it in a folder. And for the first time in years, I smiled. Not because I was happy, but because I was awake. If they thought pushing me off the boat would keep things afloat, they were about to learn what a storm really looked like. I kept the email open on my phone all through Saturday, rereading it as if some part of it might change. It didn't. Sunday morning came, and still, nothing. No call, no text, not even a misfired emoji from someone in the family thread. Just a canyon of silence where people used to be. I checked the group chat. Full of life. Plans for brunch, updates about the yacht trip. My name wasn't mentioned once. Like I'd never existed. It's not the silence that stings. It's the celebration in your absence. While I was washing dishes, my phone buzzed with a message from Nora, my old neighbor. Saw the trip post. You must be so excited, she wrote. Confused, I opened the link. A smiling photo of Arthur, Cece, the kids, even Cece's college roommate. Champagne flutes in hand, matching polo shirts. And me? Not tagged. Not even a shadow in the background. That's when it hit me, it wasn't just that I wasn't going. I was being wiped out. Deleted from the frame. I scrolled through the comments. Family goals. Look at this crew. Traditions matter. Every word like a cold press against my ribs. I pulled up our photo albums online. Scrolling. Searching. Photos from last year, ones I knew I was in, had been recropped. Edited. Captions once reading, family weekend, were now, the gang. People don't have to scream to erase you. Sometimes, they just crop you out quietly. I wasn't just off the boat. I was no longer part of the story. Later that evening, while folding clothes, I opened the yacht trip spreadsheet Arthur always emailed me. Old habits die hard. But this time, a new name was on the captain's line. Rain. Cece's childhood friend. Not Mark, the captain we'd trusted for years. Mark, who helped me when I cut my foot on coral that first trip. Mark, who Arthur used to say was the only one I trust with our lives at sea. Rain had once, years ago at a barbecue, made a mocking joke about my accent, loud enough for everyone to hear. No one defended me. Cece laughed the loudest. This wasn't random. This was orchestration. Rain wasn't just steering the yacht. She was the symbol. Cece had taken the helm, literally. And Arthur? He went along with it. I sat at my desk, opened a fresh page in my journal, and wrote, erased from the deck. Replaced with someone who knows how to stay in the frame. But I wasn't going to let them sail off thinking I'd just disappear. The next morning, a new batch of yacht photos popped up online. Sun-drenched smiles. Filtered skies. I didn't comment with outrage. I wrote, looks peaceful without the waves. Then, under another. Funny how light hits differently depending on who's holding the camera. 2 hours later, the comments vanished. Arthur texted, don't embarrass yourself. I stared at the screen. Then replied, I'm not embarrassed. Because I wasn't planning to scream. I was planning to be undeniable. I pulled out old flash drives. Labeled, Summer, 13, Island Route Drafts, Menus, Yacht Week. I started building a timeline. Every map, every grocery list, every itinerary I ever made. Metadata intact. GPS stamps, dates. I didn't just attend those trips. I built them. This wasn't about clinging to the past. It was about reminding myself I wasn't a ghost. They could crop me out, but I had the original files. By Wednesday, I had folders organized, labeled, sorted. I felt sharper. Not hurt, awake. I wasn't part of this trip. But I was about to own the next story. That afternoon, I drove across town to visit Madeline. Arthur's aunt. The one no one talks about. Went rogue, they used to say. Hard to get along with. She lived in a modest house tucked under heavy oaks. Her front porch was chipped, but her eyes were still sharp. She opened the door and looked at me like she'd been expecting me for years. Over tea, I told her everything. She nodded slowly. They don't stab you. They just stop setting your place at the table. She disappeared into the hallway, returned with a small wooden box. He never wanted you to see this. Inside were old photos, letters, clippings. And a typed letter, Arthur's handwriting at the bottom. I want the family yacht to remain bloodline. Eventually, no outsiders. Keep it clean for the kids' legacy. I read it twice. My hands didn't shake. My jaw didn't clench. This wasn't about seasickness. This wasn't about making things easier. This was business. Financial. Legal. Calculated. I placed the letter back in the box, closed it gently, and looked at Madeline. "Thank you," she said. "Don't thank me. Just don't vanish." I walked out of her house, not broken, but armed. They wanted to clean the deck. Instead, they gave me the wind. I discovered it by accident, my neighbor leaning over the fence at 7 a.m., watering her hibiscus, saying in a surprised tone, "Didn't expect you back so early." That's when it hit me. The yacht had already returned. Unannounced. Unexplained. I wasn't on board. I watched Arthur and Cece dragging suitcases down the driveway, laughing together as though nothing had happened. It felt like someone else's life I was looking at, not mine. My heart didn't race. It simply fell, numb. Betrayal doesn't always sting, sometimes it just thuds. I went back inside, sat at the kitchen table, stared at the floor where my sandals usually sat by the door. They were gone. Over the next hour I checked our shared family chat. The "We're home" post had gone up already. Photos, smiles, best week ever, captions. No mention of me, no tag, as though I never existed. I grabbed my phone and opened that thread I once moderated. I searched, Marina, Mom. No hits. I typed Cece's name and saw dozens of comments, tagged images, and stories. She was in the frame they carefully created. I was conspicuously left behind. I walked to the marina in the middle of the day. The Serafina bobbed gently in its slip. I read her nameplate and traced the polished surface with my thumb. I remembered when I first bought her. I remembered planning the route. I remembered cheering when Arthur admitted we'd hit our target revenue and she'd be our family boat. Now she belonged to someone else. Or so they thought. For weeks I'd been training myself to believe silence was safe. That keeping the peace meant staying invisible. But watching them walk off with the world I helped build made me understand, peace without purpose is surrender. That evening, I logged into a dormant Instagram account, one the kids thought forgotten. I scrolled through tagged stories, hidden posts, private uploads. There she was, Cece wearing my silk scarf on the aft deck, laughing under the same warm lights I had chosen. Arthur stood beside her, raising a toast I had written for our anniversary. In the video Cece looked at the camera and said, "This is our new tradition, just us." My name wasn't mentioned. The program was named after me 10 years ago. I was sure of it. A niece of mine looked at me at brunch on Monday. She asked, "Why didn't Aunt Marina come?" Cece replied without missing a note, "Some people don't want to move on." I froze. The message flown across me like a slap. That line belonged to me. The innocence of that question, the casual cruelty of that answer. I took screenshots, every story, every caption, every moment they thought I didn't see. I labeled them, receipts. By then my resolve was forming. I didn't need to shout. I didn't need to crash the party. I just need to be undeniable. That night I didn't sleep much. My mind was sharp. I laid out the photos, metadata, timestamps. I remembered my father's words, "Don't let anyone write your chapter for you." I relived each moment I was muted. And I realized I wasn't just watchful anymore. I was ready. So let them return with their cheers, their matched shirts, their smiles. Because I was already preparing the next story, the one with my name back on the mast. The hardest part wasn't writing the letter. It was starting it. I stared at the blank paper longer than I cared to admit. No lines, no digital drafts, just ink and truth. My handwriting felt clumsy at first, like my hands didn't quite believe what my heart already knew. I didn't write to vent. I wrote to document. Arthur, it began. Not, dear. Not, my husband. Just his name. That alone set the tone. I laid it out cleanly, the forged booking, the photos I wasn't tagged in, the yacht manifest with my name but not my presence. I referenced dates, times, the scarf Cece wore that belonged to me. I even included the marina records showing my name still listed as co-owner. No threats, just facts. I ended the letter with a line that sat in my chest for days before I put it to paper. "If you try to bury me again, I'll learn how to haunt." It wasn't revenge. It was record-keeping. The next morning, I took the letter to the post office myself. Sent it priority to his office downtown. not to our house. That space hadn't been mine in a long time. I didn't need him to read it. I needed him to feel its arrival. That afternoon, I waited, not by the phone, but inside myself. I folded laundry, made a slow soup, organized the pantry. Normal things, every minute ticking louder than the last. Arthur didn't call. Cece did. She didn't even say hello. Just came in swinging. What the hell do you think you're doing? I held the phone to my ear and kept stirring the soup. Pouring a cup you finally have to sip, I said. She scoffed. You always twist everything. I didn't bite. Not anymore. Now I just document. She tried to keep going, but I stopped her. Cece, I said softly, you called the wrong version of me. And I deleted her number the moment the call ended. That felt bigger than the letter. The next morning, a text from an unknown number came in. He's rattled. Rewriting documents. N. Nadine, an old friend who still worked at his firm. I didn't respond, just stared at the message until it blurred. So he was already rewriting the trust. That fast. I wasn't surprised. Arthur had always moved quickly when it served him. But for once, I had the upper hand. And it scared him. I didn't want his money. I wanted the truth. And now I knew where to find it. I scheduled a quiet consultation with a financial advisor that afternoon. I didn't mention divorce. I didn't threaten anything. I just asked how trusts worked, how co-ownership on a yacht could shift tax burden, how a name on paper could be used for deduction purposes without consent. The advisor said something that stuck. You're asking the right questions. Most don't until it's too late. That evening, just before sundown, Arthur showed up at my door. No warning, no flowers, just him in khakis and a polo shirt, like it was any other Thursday in our quiet Sarasota life. I just want to talk, he said, stepping into the kitchen uninvited. I let him. He sat across from me at the table. The same table where we used to eat family dinners, where Cece would set out her 4th grade science projects, where we played cards on stormy nights. This doesn't help anyone, he said, hands folded. We're still a family. I didn't blink. When did you decide that didn't include me? He sighed, leaning back like he'd been ambushed. You're taking everything so personally. I never meant for this to spiral. You didn't have to mean it, I said. You planned it. He shook his head. Come on, Marina. You're being dramatic. I didn't argue. I reached into the folder beside me and slid out 5 printed photos. Cece on the yacht. My scarf. My seat. My toast. One photo had me cropped, badly. I placed them in front of him without saying a word. He stared at them, then at me. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I didn't plead. I just said, from now on, my silence comes with a retainer fee. He looked stunned, not angry, not defensive, just stunned. He stood up slowly. No slammed door, no parting shot. He left like someone who finally realized the old tricks didn't work anymore. The key turned in the lock at 6:34 a.m. My heart didn't jump. It folded inward like steamed linen. Arthur stood in the doorway, his silhouette familiar, his stance something else entirely. I set 2 mugs on the table. Mine black, no sugar. His white, sugar packet already placed. I didn't ask why. I just didn't serve anymore. He placed a stack of papers down. Just cleanup, he said. Ownership records, nothing major. I nodded. I flipped the pages. Back page. A clause signed 2 weeks ago, my silent stake transferred. I spoke softly. Did you think I'd sign away my silence twice? He stared, then shifted. The early morning light carved lines across his forehead. He said, it's real estate, tax structure. You're safe. I replied, safe for whom? Because I feel like I'm clipped. No shouting, no tears. Just the quiet rearrangement of our lives. He left the mug half full. The sugar still undisturbed. I walked to the window. Outside, the palms swayed, not with my voice among them. He blinked. And this time I was the one watching. I met Nadine at the cafe near Arthur's firm. 2 seats, quiet corner, Monday morning. I ordered black coffee. She got the same. I slid documents across the table, hidden files, trust updates, share transfers. Her eyes widened when she saw the name, Cece. Dated back a month. You're being moved out, she said plainly. This isn't exclusion. It's architecture. That made my stomach twist. For years I thought I was invisible. Now I understood I was irrelevant. I thanked her, gathered my bag. The cafe didn't echo. My mind did. He hadn't just planned my erasure, he funded it. That evening dusk found me at the marina. The yacht bobbed quietly. I approached Arthur where he stood near the bow. I handed him the folder. He glanced at the cover, photos, screenshots, metadata. If this is a game, I said calm, you should have known I play long. He tried soft threats, you don't want family dragged into public. I met his gaze. Then stop pushing me to publish a chapter they'll never unsee. He faltered. Cece's call came as he drove away. I didn't answer. I walked up the dock, the boards familiar under my boots. They should have known, you can only drown the woman who doesn't know how to swim. Back at home, I changed the locks. Secure, quiet, final. I sent out a notice, audit of family assets. No threat in my words. Just action. And online I posted one photo, our old dinner table, name card missing. Caption. Funny what we stop setting. The comments came, quiet, curious, soft support. Vindication without vengeance. I didn't need an announcement. I started making waves. When I unlocked my home office door that Tuesday morning, I carried a USB drive in my pocket like a silent threat. I sat at the desk, turned on the lamp, and clicked through the files Nadine had quietly passed me. One document after another, a share transfer of the yacht's ownership from me to Cece, signatures backdated, clauses I hadn't been told about. My mind dug deep for the calm I promised myself. You'll own your story, not just your silence. I repeated that quietly. My hands didn't tremble. My chest didn't pound. I stared at the screen until the paper trail wasn't just proof, it was a verdict. Later that day, in downtown Sarasota, I walked past the marina on my way to meet my attorney, Dorian Price. The Serafina rested at her slip, nameplate shining, yet something felt off. A cardboard tag, owner, C. Walcott, dangling on the helm. Someone else's name where mine should have been. It tightened something in me. Betrayal isn't sharp, it is unsparing. I didn't sprint. I didn't yell. I simply kept walking, resolve gathering like storm clouds. That evening in my home office, I spread maps, contracts, email drafts. I noticed a memo from Iris Walcott's assistant, estate planning for Cece. At the same time I'd been quietly thanked for keeping harmony. Harmony. The word now tasted hollow. I called Vera Lancaster. They changed the lock on the narrative without asking me for the key. She didn't hesitate. Power isn't given. It's taken. And you're perfectly positioned. My pulse steadied. The weight in my chest shifted, from shock to purpose. A few days later, I entered the yacht club lounge wearing a crisp blazer and a steady gaze. Heads turned. Isn't that Marin Huxley? Someone whispered. The manager, Marcy Quinn, nodded curtly and didn't approach. I held my folder casually. I asked her, were you told I wasn't the owner anymore, or was that memo lost in the mail? Silence. I placed a card-sized print of the original deed on the mahogany table. That deed bare my name. The boardroom of whispers began to lean toward my side. Power shifted, quietly, undeniably. That night, I packed my daughter Lola's school backpack while she sat on the bed watching me. I kissed her forehead, whispered, Mom's done hiding. I dialed Iris Walcott on speaker. Lola listened as my mother-in-law stammered, unable to meet the truth I laid out. I hung up. Then I turned to Lola, holding her hand. We're rewriting the page, kid. After she went to sleep, I deleted 12 years of family group chat history from my phone. The symbols of my silence were gone. My voice remained. They thought my docile quiet meant my end. They were wrong.